Hello, I am Amber Hamilton. I'm one of the assistant principals at Liberty Middle School, and welcome to our Rising 8th Grade Virtual Parent University. Typically, we would invite our rising 8th grade parents, guardians, and students to our campus, and we would discuss with you 8th grade specific curriculum offerings for next year. This year, we're presenting that information via video, and then if you need additional help or have more questions, you can connect with us at a later date. Let's get started. I'm going to introduce to you some LMS staff members who could be helpful along the way. We're going to talk about 8th grade specific curriculum options. I'm going to connect you with resources, and then if you have more questions, how we can help you. If you don't already know, we have 4 administrators at Liberty Middle School. Mr. Shannon Brown is our principal. Mr. Ryan Foy is the assistant principal and athletic director. He is over transportation and logistics. Dr. Trevis Stewart is an assistant principal who is over student services, plans, and assessment. And then again, I am Dr. Amber Hamilton, and I'm another assistant principal. I'm over curriculum and instruction along with registration. You can find all of our email addresses on the LMS website. So if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email and we will get back with you. We have 3 counselors at Liberty, and they serve students based on their last name. So it does not matter what grade level your student is, it's based off of student last names. Miss Latif serves students A through H, Miss Thompson serves students I through M, and Miss Clayton serves students N through Z. It's important to note that Miss Thompson is shared with Discovery, so she's only at Liberty part-time. If you have any questions for your counselor or if you need more assistance, you can find their email addresses on the LMS website as well. We have a new school resource officer, Officer Joel. So we're so excited she is with us full time. If you see Officer Joel, make sure you say hello and welcome her to Liberty. All right, so let's talk about 8th grade curriculum offerings. So I want to start with math because math is new this year. It has changed. The Alabama State Department of Education has changed the courses of study for math classes. So that means the math classes now have different standards. If you have a middle schooler that has already gone through Liberty, this is different than what happened when they went through Liberty. So this is all new for our 8th graders. We no longer have Algebra 1 as an option for 8th graders for a high school credit. So in the past, our 8th graders were able to pick between Math 8, Algebra 1, or Algebra 1 Math Team. Algebra 1 is no longer an option. Again, this is a State Department change. So what are the options? Your student will be able to take either Math 8, Accelerated Math 8, or Accelerated Math 8 Math Team. It depends on what class your student currently is in 7th grade. So if your student is taking Math 7 right now as a 7th grader, he or she should request Math 8 as an 8th grader. If your student as a 7th grader is signed up for Accelerated Math 7 currently, he or she can choose to either take Math 8 or Accelerated Math 8 or Math Team. So if your student is sitting in an Accelerated Math 7 class right now, then he or she, if it's a little too hard, maybe too challenging, or your student is struggling a lot, perhaps Math 8 could be a good option. Or your student can sign up for Accelerated Math 8 or Accelerated Math 8 Math Team. If your student signs up for Math Team, it's important to know that that class requires outside of school practices, competitions, there's some transportation and other fees associated with Math Team. Again, Algebra 1 is not an option for our 8th graders anymore. If you have specific questions about math options, because this is new for all of us, I highly recommend that you email your student's current math teacher now. So whoever your student has as a 7th grade math teacher, and he or she could help guide you through the math options. All right, so Language Arts is next. Language Arts is a year-long core class. Your student has 2 options, either Standard On-Level Language Arts 8 or Honors Language Arts 8. Now, this one's different than math because this one is completely parent-student choice. If your student took Language Arts 7 as a 7th grader, and maybe he or she was a little bored, maybe Honors Language Arts would be a great option. Or if your student took Honors Language Arts 7 and he or she thought it was a little too challenging or maybe too much outside reading, maybe Language Arts 8 would be just a great option for him or her. This is completely parent and student choice. Now, I will say, just like with math, I recommend that you email your student's current 7th grade ELA teacher because he or she could provide you with STAR data, assessment feedback, strengths and weaknesses, and suggestions and recommendations. Your ELA teacher knows your student well, and so he or she could be a great resource for you to make the most informed decision for your Language Arts 8 class. Again, it's year-long, it's required. Whichever one you select, your student will be in there for the full year. We don't make changes after the school year starts because we make our master's schedule based on your selections in the spring. World History for 8th grade, your student has two options. Your student could sign up for World History or Pre-AP World History. They cover the same standards. The difference is the Pre-AP World History uses Pre-AP instructional resources and the Pre-AP guide. If your student is interested in taking AP classes in history at James Clemens, Pre-AP World History could be a good fit for him or her. It is not required for AP classes. So we have many students who go into World History and at James Clemens, they'll go into AP World History and they didn't take Pre-AP at Liberty. That's an option. But if your student is up for the challenge, there is outside reading and outside writing. Pre-AP World History could be a good fit for your student. Both classes are semester long. And if you have more questions about that, you could reach out to your student's current history teacher for more information. Science is easy for 8th grade because every 8th grader takes physical science. This is a semester-long class, and it will be opposite of the world history class. So if you have world history in the fall, you would have physical science in the spring. If you have physical science in the fall, you would have your world history in the spring. So just depending on how your schedule falls, these will be opposite semesters. So those are your core classes. Now, electives, there are so many electives for our students to choose from. And now that you're an 8th grader, there are even more electives. And we'll talk more about the high school credit electives too. Just like as a 7th grader and as a 6th grader, 1 PE is required. A minimum of 1 PE. Now, if you're interested in having PE all year long, you could sign up for 4 PEs. Again, you're requesting. We can't guarantee that you'll get 4 PEs, but if you request 4, we will try our best to fit your needs. World languages, we have German, French, Latin, Mandarin, Chinese, and Spanish. I'll talk to you more about the different options for those world languages. We have more CTE classes. It's very important that you look at your prerequisites for your 8th grade electives. So for example, if you're interested in taking speech and debate, Introduction to Public Speaking is a prerequisite to speech and debate. Creative Writing 1 is a prerequisite to 2. App Creators has a prerequisite. So there's some other ones on here that have prerequisites. You can find all the prerequisite information in the curriculum catalog. Also, as an 8th grader, you could sign up for a UAH dual enrollment course. It's called Finite Mathematics. This is an elective that requires additional tuition and fees that you would pay directly to UAH. We do not cover those fees in Madison City. This class also is not during the school day at Liberty. This is a class that's dual enrollment after school hours. So if your student is requesting Accelerated Math 8, so they are going into the Accelerated Math 8 class or the Accelerated Math 8 math team class, and he or she would like to take the dual enrollment credit of UAH Finite Mathematics, that is an option, but it does not replace any other elective during the school day. It's to be done outside of school hours, and there's some paperwork we'd fill out, so you'd want to reach out to your current counselor to get that paperwork, and just know that there are tuition and fees associated with this class that you would pay directly to UAH. Okay, there are a few electives that require applications or auditions or interviews. So those have specific deadlines that you have to meet. So if your student is interested in any of these electives, he or she needs to get on the Liberty website and look at the deadlines because they're coming up soon. So no student should mark any of these course request classes unless they're accepted to that class. As an 8th grader, students have two options for high school credit options. Career Prep is a semester-long class, and it's a requirement at James Clemens, so a lot of students take it as an 8th grader. It's not required. It's completely optional, but it's a way to get 1 credit when you're going to high school. French 1, German 1, Latin 1, Mandarin Chinese 1, and Spanish 1. Okay, so these are year-long world language electives. Your student as an 8th grader could request one of these languages. We do not offer every language every year. It's based on student requests. So it depends on how many students sign up for a level 1 option. If your student is not interested in the high school credit option, but they want to take French B or Spanish A or one of those 9-week survey classes, that's an option. That's not the high school credit option. These are year-long, and it's a commitment to your GPA. So, for example, if your student is interested in one of these languages, I highly recommend that parents and guardians, you have conversations with your students, because whatever they make in this class, that GPA is going to go with them to James Clemens. And so it is a little bit more of a time commitment and effort as a middle schooler to put forth all of the effort and the attention and the work ethic needed to have that solid GPA when you go to James Clemens. If you have specific questions about high school credit options, you can reach out to one of your counselors or to me, and I will be happy to answer more of your questions. So as an 8th grader, let's look at what an 8th grade schedule could look like. This is a sample. It's an example. Yours may not be in this order, but just as a visual to help you. Language arts is a full year long. Math is a full year long. Physical science 1 semester. Your social studies, whether it's pre-AP or just the standard world history, will be in the other semester. 1 9 weeks of PE is required. You could request 2, 3, or 4 9 weeks of PE, but 1 is the minimum, 4 is the maximum. You have 7 different elective options to choose from for the rest of the year. So what could this look like? Say you want to go the high school credit route. So your student is committed to putting forth the academic effort needed to have that successful GPA. So perhaps he or she would sign up for fitness and aerobics for PE, green architecture, which is an awesome Project Lead the Way hands-on STEM class, CTE class. Career prep is a semester long. And then French 1 is a high school credit class, which is a full year long. In this example, this student is only have 4 electives for 8th grade. So that's one way. Here's another example. In this example, the 8th grader is not taking any high school credit options, and that's totally fine as well. Speech and debate, again, the prereq is intro to public speaking, so he or she would have had to take an intro to public speaking either in 7th grade or 6th grade. Indoor sports PE, advanced art, the prerequisite is visual arts. So he or she would have had to take in visual arts in 7th grade. And then advanced chorus, which takes the place of a full year elective. So that's another example of what an 8th grade schedule could look like. Here's another example. This one does not have all the high school credits, but it does have the 4 PE option. So in this example, Engineering Essentials, which is offered only to 8th graders, it's a Project Lead the Way class. Innovations, Project-Based Learning, which is a student passion project class. So those are both semester-long electives. And then the student has a PE every single 9 weeks. So outdoor PE, strength and conditioning 1, indoor PE, strength and conditioning 2. So this is another example of what an 8th grade schedule could look like. Now, it's important to note that your student cannot request 2 year-long electives. So if your student is interested in symphonic band, he or she cannot sign up for a world language high school credit class because both of those are year-long electives. So in this example, Latin 1 and symphonic band would not work because the state requires 9 weeks of PE. All right, so let's look at the resources. If you go to the Liberty Middle School website, under registration, there is LMS course registration materials. You will click that, and you have the middle school catalog. And this catalog is the middle school catalog for both Liberty and Discovery. You can find this on the Madison City website as well. And you will see important dates, our bell schedule. And if you scroll all the way down, you can see 8th grade core class. So here are your 8th grade core classes. You can read the descriptions of your 8th grade core classes. You also have your electives, academic teams, CTE, which means career and technical education classes. If there's a fee involved, it will have the fee stated there. It'll give you the length of the class and what grade level can take the class. There are a few classes that may have an icon of a D or an L. In this scenario, that class is only offered at Discovery. So Art Interior Design is a Discovery only class. That means as a Liberty student, you would not request that class. There are a few that have just L's beside them, like Composition Workshop is a Liberty only class. If there's no icon beside it, that means it's offered at both Liberty and Discovery. But it's important to note that you don't want to put in any requests down for just the D electives. If you look at PE too, 7th and 8th graders at Liberty can take a lot of different PEs. We have fitness and aerobics, health and wellness, indoor and outdoor. You'll want to skip these with the icons with the D beside it and look for the L's because those are Liberty specific PE classes. So this curriculum catalog is online. Parents and guardians, I highly recommend that you sit down with your student and look over that curriculum catalog. There is also an 8th grade section that says FAQs. So if you will read through these, this answers a lot of common questions for 8th graders for registration season. So look at that FAQ sheet. There is also a fillable PDF. So this is the registration packet that you can download. Now, parents, your student will receive a printed copy of this through their ELA teacher. However, you can also download this and fill it out as a fillable PDF, like I said, or you could print it off and fill it out by hand and sign it. So this is the 8th grade registration packet. Again, this is a course request form. So just because you request these electives does not mean that you're absolutely going to get them. It's very important that you rank your electives 1 to 12. Even though you won't get 12 electives, your student needs to give us alternates. And that's why the ranking is important, because over the summer, if there is a conflict, if your student wants career prep and science of technology and magic of electrons and strength and conditioning 1, there could be some scheduling conflicts. Some might overlap. And so that's why it's important for us to look at the ranking so we can go to your alternate electives. So it's very important that you complete that. Again, if you mark finite mathematics, the UAH dual enrollment class, that does not take the place of another elective and that does require other fees. Here is the registration worksheet. This is very helpful for you to visualize. You can print this off. Parents and guardians can complete it with your student and help you pick what electives for next year. You will not turn in the registration worksheet to us. It's just a resource for you. And then important dates. Also, at the end of the video, if you still have questions, there is a Parent University link there, and there is a Google form that you can complete with your additional questions. So if you have questions about high school credits or math options or other electives, you can complete this Google form, and either myself or another LMS staff member will return your email and help you either answer your question or guide you to the answer. And then there's also a link for Rising 8th Grade virtual coffee with the counselors, and I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. If your student is interested in athletics, we have all of our athletic information listed. We have lots of sports at JC. So if we don't offer something at Liberty, they may offer it at James Clemens, and our 7th and 8th graders can participate even as a Liberty student on the James Clemens team. So make sure you check that out. We also have clubs and organizations. We really want our students to be involved. And so we encourage your 8th grader, your future 8th grader, to get involved with a club or a sport or some kind of organization. If you're interested, you can click on any of them and you will see that there are sign up forms for interest. It'll give you what it's about. So all of that is right here. The last thing also I want to mention is the teams that require, the classes that require audition. So like for yearbook, if you're interested in signing up for yearbook, there is an interview and an audition process. And so you would want to sign, look at the yearbook page and do all the requirements there. So all of this is on the Liberty website. It's very helpful. I highly recommend that you look there for a lot of your resources. Okay. So here's our timeline. Look at the curriculum catalog and identify the courses that your student is interested in taking as an 8th grader. Utilize that registration worksheet that I showed you in the packet. This is a great visual to help families picture potential elective options. You're going to complete the course request form. Again, your student will get a printed copy, but you can also download it, fill it out, or print it out, or whatever you need to do. Make sure a parent signs it. You will turn it into your student's current ELA teacher, the 7th grade ELA teacher, by March 31st. That's the deadline. And then counselors will be coming into the ELA classrooms to help students digitally input those course requests. Okay, again, what if you have questions? What if I did not answer all of your questions in this presentation? I probably didn't, and that's okay. You can complete that Google form on the LMS website, submit your registration questions there, and we'll get back to you to help you answer those questions. We also have the optional virtual coffee with the counselor sessions. So in the past, we would invite our parents and guardians to come to our library, and we'd sit down and we'd help answer your questions. Well, this year we're doing it via WebEx. And so if you're interested, it's an optional option. It's an optional option for parents and guardians to be in a small group WebEx with a counselor to get additional guidance or help with the registration process. March 24th will be the Rising 8th Grade Coffee with the Counselor session. So you would need to go online, fill out the Google form or the Sign Up Genius, and secure your spot because there are limited spots. And then a counselor will email you the WebEx link for you to join. Again, completely optional, just if you need more help. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was informative and helpful. I am Ambra Hamilton. I'm one of the assistant principals. Fill out that Google form if you have more questions. We are looking forward to a great school year next year. We're so excited for our rising 8th graders. If you need any help or anything at all, we are here to serve you. So feel free to reach out, and we hope you have a wonderful